Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about the AeroPress brewer. We're going to actually brew with the AeroPress brewer today. You might have seen my previous video on the AeroPress XL when it first came out. I showed you how it works. Today is more of a general purpose guide for how to get the most out of any AeroPress brewer. The original AeroPress brewer was actually designed for just one or two servings, one serving being 150 milliliters and two servings being 300. That's kind of the upper limit of this particular brewer. The AeroPress XL was designed for 3 servings, and it will make actually up to 450 milliliters. We're not going to brew with that one today, but the concepts are same and translatable. Key things you want to take away from this is dosing for each of the brewers and for each brew you want to make. You need fresh boiling water, a burr grinder, fresh SteffenMarkkus beans, and then something to push your coffee into. Now, a single serving is typically about this size, which is about 150 milliliters or 5 ounces. A double serving this is like a big coffee mug. Most coffee mugs are between 250 and 300 milliliters. This is a 300 milliliter cup, which would represent 2 servings. And then of course, the carafe that comes with the AeroPress XL is 450 milliliters. That gives you an idea of the size. Okay, so the way these things work is you have a plunger at the top and a brew chamber in the middle, and then you have a filter basket at the bottom. The filter basket screws on like this, and then the plunger pulls out. Okay, now there are 2 known methods for brewing with this. One is what's called the upside down method, where you actually put the plunger in first and then set the whole brewer on a flat surface, place your grounds and your coffee into the brew chamber. Then after you've let it steep, you place the filter and the filter basket on top, and then put your cup on top, and then you kind of do a flip before you plunge. Okay, now a lot of people are fans of this particular approach. I'm not a big fan, just due to the potential for the hot mess and the spill. So I tend to brew with the filter basket in the cup, and I let it immerse with the plunger in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and brew like that today. Now, as I mentioned, it's 1, 2, or 3 servings. 1 serving is 10 grams of coffee. 2 servings is 20 grams of coffee. 3 servings is 30 grams of coffee. And the amount of water you place into each of those, for 1 serving, 150 milliliters, 2 servings, 300 milliliters, and for 3 servings, 450 milliliters. We're going to go ahead and brew in this big cup today, but I don't want to make quite 2 servings. I don't, 300 milliliters would fill this cup right to the top. So I'm going to make 1.5 servings, which would be 225 milliliters or 225 grams. So 1.5 would be halfway between 10 grams and 20 grams, which would be 15 grams of coffee. So let's go ahead and measure out 15 grams of coffee. I have my little coffee scale here, and we'll zero out the scale, and then we'll measure out 15.3. That's close enough. Okay, and this is one of our newer coffees. This is a Sumatra from Indonesia, obviously. It's lychee infused, and it's an anaerobic process. It's a really great coffee. Okay, rather than bore you to tears with my grinding with a manual grinder or making a lot of noise with the electric, I've already ground up some of the coffee. Okay, so we have 15 grams of coffee here. Let me go ahead and put the filter in the filter basket. Don't want to forget that, otherwise it's going to be kind of an ugly cup of coffee. Okay. By the way, these filters are great. I would use up all the ones that come with the brewer before you embark on buying metal filters or other filters, because they are that good. You get a great clean cup out of them. Okay, so we got the filter in the filter basket. we screwed this on. Make sure it's nice and tight, because what can happen is when you plunge through, you can actually force the filter out. So you don't want to have that happen. So make sure that's tight on there. Put the grounds into the brewer, like that. Go ahead and even it out. And by the way, the grind should be a fine grind, so somewhere finer than, say, auto drip, but not quite as fine as, say, espresso or a mocha pot. Okay, so okay, then you place your cup, the brewer, onto the scale, and then zero out the scale. Okay, so because we're going to do 1.5 servings, I'm going to pour in 225 grams of coffee. Let me get the plunger ready. I'll show you what we do. So zero it out, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate this a little bit to make sure we get all the grounds wet as we go up. And we're going to take it to 225. Perfect. 225. Then you remove this from the scale and place the plunger over the top, just at the very tip top. Okay. Now the reason for this is what you want to do is immerse the water and the grounds together, and you don't want the water to simply drain into the cup. The plunger acts as kind of a vacuum, so it keeps the water inside the brew chamber. Okay. Now what we're going to do is let this steep for 2 minutes. If I were brewing at a lower temperature, so I brewed at 205 degrees. If I were brewing at a lower temperature, say 195, or I had a coarser ground coffee, I would probably steep it a little bit longer. But I did a fine grind, and I'm at 205 degrees. So in 2 minutes, this is ready to plunge. Okay, so let's come right back when we're done immersing the coffee. Okay, it's been 2 minutes. Okay, so now what we want to do is give this a little bit of a swirl, kind of a last swirl before we plunge it. And what that'll do is it'll mix up the water and the grounds. So if it's been settling on top of the grounds, you'll stir it up a little bit. Then we just begin the plunging. You can see it plunges fairly easily. Okay? If you notice it really locking up, it might be that your grounds are too fine. Or if it goes through really fast, it might be too coarse. Okay? You hear a little bit of air there. Don't worry about that. That's the air that was on top of the water and the grounds when I put the plunger in. Okay, now here's my little tip. Get to the end, it's all the way down. Just press this ever so slightly up like that, and that'll stop the drips. You get no drip. And then you have your coffee. Cheers. Very good. Oh, this is a great coffee. Okay, so one last tip. Okay, remember how I pushed the plunger up ever so slightly, keep it from dripping here? Now, what we do is we take this cap off. Now this is for paper filters only. If you have a metal filter, you have to do something different. But for paper filters, you can see it's pulled down slightly, and that prevented the drip. Now we just place the edge of the brewer over a trash can or over whatever receptacle you're going to use for collecting grounds, and just press it down like that. You're all done. Okay? So there you have it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have other thoughts on how to brew with the AeroPress, please leave comments below. All right, have a great day.